So when you're driving around town and you come up to an intersection where you consistently see someone holding a sign, what do? I know that I pretty often would come up to a stop sign and wait and peer both ways and try not to look at that person on the other side of the glass. I wouldn't look at their face, I wouldn't look at the sign, just pretend they didn't exist, and I would keep going as fast as I could. I'm sure that's an experience most of us have experienced. So here's what happened to me that has changed the way that I see these people. About a year ago, I needed a job, and I needed a part-time job that paid well because I was in school, and I applied to many jobs, and I heard back from very few. And one that I heard back from was Toilet Equity, a nonprofit in Grand Junction that supplies toilet access to the unhoused population of Grand Junction. And all of their toilets are composting toilets. And I'm studying environmental science. I thought that was cool, so I applied. And in the interview, I admitted that I did not have much experience with the homeless population. And in fact, I likely had an internal bias against them. And then I wondered, maybe I shouldn't have said that in this interview. But it worked out. And I took the job. And in hindsight, managing huge compost piles of human feces was not that hard. It was the locations where our toilets were at that I struggled with the most. I was afraid to go to these places. There were people that I was told were dangerous and unpredictable. And I had to go there alone. I had to go there before the sun came up. And it was really hard for many months. And the worst of it hit when winter came, and I had to let myself into the resource center, where outside the resource center, there was a very large homeless camp, and people are sleeping on the sidewalk in 10 degrees. And I had to let myself in and close the gate behind me. And I could get into an area with 4 walls and a ceiling, and they couldn't. And I couldn't sit with that fact. I had to start going there when it was already open. It was someone else's job to open that gate in the morning. It was someone else's job to close people out. And none of this really got better, this anxiety I had in this job, until I had my first conversation with an unhoused person, and that was with Ned. I was cleaning one of our toilets, and he came up to me and he thanked me for what I was doing. And he started talking to me about composting toilets. He asked if I had read the Humanure Handbook, if I had looked into MIT research to biodigesters. And I had a moment of being like, I thought this guy was stupid. Uneducated. He doesn't have a house, but he knows more than I do. He's actively giving me tips to make our practice more sustainable. Every time I see him today, he gives me book recommendations. And I realized that Ned is not a bum. He's an intellectual. And there was a couple at one of our toilets that I saw pretty consistently, Jack and Sarah. And every time I would pull up, they would move their shopping cart out of the way so I could gain access to that toilet. And there was one day that I had to park a little farther away, and they weren't moving out of the way as quickly, so I gathered my things and I started making my way over there. And once I got closer, Jack saw me and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you. I don't have my glasses." And I don't know where his glasses were, but I do know that glasses are breakable and losable and expensive and very necessary. And Jack and Sarah are not freeloaders. They're not begging for resources and throwing everything they have away. They don't have the things that they need to survive, to see. And I deeply remember a man named Jesus who came up to me and started telling me about his day. And I could tell he just needed someone to listen, so I did. And he told me about his family, about a time when he worked for months and months in order to buy his daughter a car. And he has a granddaughter that has heterochromia, one blue eye and one brown eye. And he explained how she would reach up at him to be held, and how he would pick her up and he would look in her face and he would look in her eyes and he would see the world. And he started telling me these same stories over and over and over again. And he reminded me of my own grandfather, who passed away a couple years ago with dementia. And like Jesus, my grandfather cared very, very deeply for his family. And there was a moment in my life that I was reaching up to my grandfather to be held, and he saw the world in my eyes. And Jesus is not some crazy guy in an alleyway talking to himself. He is a father. He is a grandfather. He's battling this disease by himself. Carol is someone that we hired to clean our toilets daily, mostly because she was already cleaning our toilets. She says that everyone deserves a clean place to do their business, no matter what their business is. And after hiring her, there was a very large difference in how our toilets were treated. One, they were being cleaned every single day. And two, she would find anybody that ever vandalized our toilets and she would hunt them down. And she would make them scrub it off. And people learned, Carol's going to come after you. And every single time I see her, she is helping someone else. She is giving them information. She's giving them her own supplies, her own food. And Carol has been living on and off the streets since she was about 11. She's lived here on the Western Slope her entire life. She had her first kid by the time she was 15. And what startled me was when she told me that she taught herself how to read at the age of 30 by doing her son's homework. And when Carol was 18, she had already been married multiple times, had many kids, was living on and off the streets. When I was 18, I was a band kid in high school. And I find it very difficult to tell Carol about my days now, because my life is filled with driving to the store to pick up milk, to take home, to put in my refrigerator while wearing my glasses. And when I ride my bike and I crash and I spill my things into the road, I pick things up and I go home and I lick my wounds. And when Carol rides her bike and she crashes and her things go into the road, she has the cops called on her. And I've seen these people as stereotypes. And there is a definite assumption that anyone who does not have a job, does not have a house, are drug addicts, or lazy, cannot live in this society. And throughout this, I have learned that the real root cause is very commonly generational poverty. It's hard to get a job. It's hard to keep a job when you've grown up not having a place to shower, not having a place to get food. Mental illness. The anxiety and depression you get from not having a safe place, from not having resources to survive. In many ways, that feeds addiction, and addiction feeds the mental illness, and it's a vicious cycle. Cognitive disability. Many people who need assistance cognitively are kicked out after they graduate high school and they're just put out on the streets. They can't keep a job. They can't have a house. And you'd be surprised to learn that many, many people became unhoused due to COVID. If you don't have more than 3 months' rent saved, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you were evicted, you lost your job before the stimulus checks came in. That's what happened to Carol. And it feels weird to be up here asking you to see people as people. But I used to not look at that person on the side of the road. I get it. And I'm not asking you to donate. I'm not asking you to volunteer. But if you want to make a difference in your life, if you want to broaden your worldview, if you want to see other difficulties that people struggle with, you can start by changing their lives, these people that are so dismissed, so ignored. And all I ask is when you come up to an intersection and you stop at a stop sign and there's someone there on the side, if you don't have anything to give them, you don't have to. Just look them in the eye and wave and continue on your way. See them as human beings. Thank you.